Hi, my name is Brooke Keevy, and I am a high school math teacher in Tucson, Arizona. I have some specific dispositions I've adopted in my teaching that I feel aid the most in my overall effectiveness. I've also identified some areas I know I can improve on. I am passionate about being a teacher, and I understand that beyond my individual practices, there are some fundamental truths about being an effective teacher and about why you should be in the field. So let's start with what I think makes me effective. What makes me a successful teacher is my dedication to fairness, positivity, and reflection at all times. I strive to remain fair to my students. I make sure to go over all of my classroom expectations explicitly within the first and second days of school. I also post my expectations within my classroom so students see them every single day. I give daily reminders of my expectations to students, and I stress maintaining an environment of mutual respect. Whenever a student misbehaves or does not follow an expectation, I make sure to match my reaction to the behavior, and I do my best to address all issues with the individual student. I often conference with students, and I like to start with the question of, what's going on? Is anything wrong? Is everything okay? And usually that will maintain a level of positivity between me and the student. It maintains rapport, and it makes it less about, being in trouble and more about how do we keep you successful, how do we keep you focused, and how can I, help educate you as your teacher. Whenever addressing students or the entire class, I stress remaining calm and positive. I use phrases like, "Not there yet," and "I know you can do it," when correcting or redirecting behavior. I like to let students know that I like all of them and that I'm happy they're in my room, even if it's not true in that moment. I like to continually reflect on my teaching, and I value input from veteran teachers. What I really appreciate about the school that I work at now, the district I'm with now, is I have an academic coach. And she has been working with the district for upwards of 20 years, and so she has a lot of experience and expertise, and she gives me a lot of advice on a bi-weekly basis. And I really value that, given she knows what she's doing. She's doing it for a very long time, and she has a lot of good ideas and things I can correct and add into my teaching to make me more effective. Whenever I try a new strategy personally, I also like to consider, what went well, what I can change, and even throughout the day, I like to change how I do things. The delivery of my lesson in my first hour could be very different from my delivery of my lesson in my sixth hour, depending on what went well and what I should change. Now, let's talk about what I know I can work on. I know that personally I can work on my dispositions of advocacy and curiosity. What I mean by that is, with curiosity, I know that I can work on not being so completely direct. I'm a really big fan of the gradual responsibility release approach, and I really rarely deviate from the model of I do, we do, you do. And while that is, baseline effective, that's good teaching, I know that great teaching is really letting students arrive at their own understanding. What I've found about that, though, about discovery-based learning, is it requires a lot of planning on my part, and I'm not quite there yet. I would like to work on that, though, and add more of those discovery elements into my teaching as I continue to teach. What I also need to work on is my advocacy. What I mean by that is my relationships with students. I do feel that I could make more authentic connections with my students just by doing things more often, like asking about their interests, their activities, and even doing a little bit of research sometimes just to more authentically connect with them. I know I could definitely do that more than I do now. And while these dispositions describe me as a teacher, what I think I do right and what I think I can improve on, I think that there are some dispositions that are inarguably what every teacher should strive for. And what I mean by that is, I feel all educators should hold themselves to a high standard. An educator should be professionally dressed, punctual, and prepared. A dedicated teacher should be a constant model for the behaviors that they expect to see from students. Specifically, teachers should always be kind, fair, honest, patient, and overall should demonstrate a growth mindset. I don't think it's fair as teachers to ask students to be okay with making mistakes if we as individuals are not. It's important to talk about your own teaching and your own experiences with the attitude of, not there yet, but I'll get there. And then that way the students see that as an everyday reality and they themselves are more okay with making mistakes and with the learning process. I think that teachers should also model these behaviors when interacting with colleagues as well. Professional interactions should be warm and supportive, and all conflicts should be dealt with the mutual respect and, in a professional way. I do think also that teachers should be motivated to behave this way. I don't think that it just should be a rule that teachers follow. I think that it should be happening intrinsically because they want to behave this way. And I think teachers should want to behave this way because they should have respect for their profession. Teachers should have some reverence for what they do and for the influence they can have over students. An individual's education level is usually a metric for their success in life. Teachers should value the opportunity to help so many individuals understand the importance of education and to help set as many of them as possible on the right path in life. Overall, an educator's effectiveness in students' lives depends on how they approach the profession. I will always strive to keep improving and to maintain a high level of commitment to educational dispositions. Thank you.